hello there. Got some strange brakes, weld wheels, proper cage, quick connect. Oh, I like the dash. Well, this is a really nice F-body Camaro. Let's get the heads on it and get some body weight in the driver's seat. Let's see if we can make this thing handle better. So we need to square up our rear. He's got plenty of caster in it, but we'll even them out. They're a degree off side to side. It's got way too much toe. But I think he said he just kind of eyeballed that. This is a semi-fresh build being put together. And it looks like the tires that are on it are just rollers because they are literally to the cords. Let's get this thing down. Let's get our back end squared up. There's actually a patch of cords in there I saw a minute ago. So we got a pretty steep thrust angle, so we want to square that up. We want that to be as close to zero as possible. Towed in pretty hard. Degree cross caster. Camber's within a ½ degree. We don't really need that much caster or camber in it, so we might make some changes to that. These cars don't really care about the camber, they just go through the sweep. Man, this is a clean F-body. Nice vehicle to start with. Anti-roll, big beefy rear. Nice bits. My head keeps falling off. There's no rubber to grab on these old worn out tires. Dual adjustable Vikings. Well, let's get set back up and figure out what we got to do. Nice bits. Let's make them work together. Up. 1.3 degrees up. 4.7, 4.8 down. Gonna make you think. Yeah, it's actually not too bad. It's pretty close. I think we're gonna leave that alone. Let's square up our rear axle to the chassis to figure out our thrustlet angle. We're going to do a quick setup of toe. Track bar is pretty good. I'm within a probably 1/4 inch side to side. I was going the right way the first time. Make some marks. That'll do. We'll lock that down. Our thrust angle is pretty much right where we want it. Toe down, about there. The other side. Okay, that chews up the toe. Our rack looks pretty good as far as being squared into the chassis. You've geared a lot of this negative camber. Let's see what it does on lift. But this one was a handful. Man, look at it travel. That's impressive. Over 7 degrees toe out on turns. Wow. But this thing was all over the place when it came down. Move the rack up. That's the way it's designed to be in there though with the rack conversion. It's in there the way it needs to be. Let's change these out. 3/4. 3/4. Alright, so I moved a moderate shim from the top to the bottom, which moves my joint up. It's actually going to make my situation worse, which I'll show you right here. I'm squared back up to negligible toe, and then on lift, we have even more toe out on the turns. So that little shim changed it a full degree of toe out of turn. So I need a longer bolt and more shim to get that number to come down to 0 on lift. see what kind of gains we achieved. It's probably going to be pretty close to where we want it. So we're pretty close to 0. Now we're towing in. We need to take a little bit of that shim out. Now we're towing in 3 degrees instead of towing out 7 or 8. So this is all just a function of how that tie rod end cycles with the lower control arm. I need to take a little bit of that out, so I'll probably take the small shim, I'll take the medium shim out and see where we're at from there. Take it. 1/2 degree on lift. That's where we're going to keep it. Let's lock that down. We're done playing with that for the most part. Yes, this is very tedious. So when this lifts, you can see that one side sweeps at a different rate than the other side, and what's causing that is the tie rod ends are different lengths. So the passenger side tie rod end is about 3/4 of an inch shorter than the driver's side, so I'm going to square the rack up so that my tie rod ends can be within like an 1/8 of an inch, and that means when it sweeps, it won't have one wheel sweeping and the other one staying the same, because that can do weird things. I want them both to sweep the same if they're sweeping at all. That's a big part of making the rack squared to its cycle and getting the bump steer kit dialed in as optimally as you can. And I'm splitting hairs. I try to shoot for under 1 degree of toe in on lift, and that's a pretty small amount. But this guy had made test passes with this car, and it was all over the place. You can see it was not optimal. If you're towing out 7 degrees, when you come down, it's not gonna know what direction to go. So that's the big reason we do these race car chassis setups, to help these guys go faster and much safer when they're running the speeds that they are traveling at. So I'm going to make a little adjustment to where the rack's at so that I can square up my rod ends, and then we'll just reclock the steering wheel to the rack. That'll be pretty painless at the end of the whole ordeal. I already have my caster matched up within 1/10 of a degree. My camber's within 1/2 degree side to side. And since this is a preliminary setup, I may just leave that alone for now. Let's spend my time on other items. But it's coming along nicely, and we're making progress. So it will definitely handle better than when it came in, and that is always our goal: make it better. All right, let's measure caster, see if we made improvements. .528 on Camber, 6.8 and 6.6 on caster. I'll take it. That's looking pretty good. And that is all with body weight, driver's body weight in the driver's seat. So now I have my tie rod ends squared up. They were over 1 inch difference in length, which was giving me some plenty of stuff going on. So now I'm gonna have to pop the steering shaft off the rack to straighten up my steering wheel to the car. But everything's looking pretty square now. Thrust angle is under 1/10 of a degree. And everything else is looking pretty good. I think that's going to be our final numbers for this thing. That rear axle is nice. I'm going to lock some of this stuff down, make sure all my settings hold, and then we'll strip this bad boy down. Angry Farmer. Love that stuff. That and Croil. Croil is by far the best smelling penetrating oil I've ever smelled. Oh, there's my light. I knew I left it somewhere. Probably left it on too. Yep, I did. Love these things too. It was amazing up travel. This steering linkage is kind of difficult to adjust. So I can't go up with it because the alternator's in the way. So I take the rack loose, slide it sideways, drop it down, and then I can re-index my steering shaft on my spline shaft on my input to the steering gear. So that's what I'm doing now. I can find a place to stick my big ham hock hand in. Come on, get off there. Okay, and I want to go like 3 more flats. Now let's try that. They're not cooperating. Alright, let's check our steering wheel. And do that as many times as it takes to get it right. Oh, stupid gravity. Oh, we're gonna have to put a nut on that. Oh, looks like I went too far. No, I'm too far the other way. Too far, Rich. Alright, I like my steering wheel position. And I will lock down my rack, dial in my final toe. I should be good to go. So you can watch the screen and see what the toe does on lift. So it's a 1/2 degree toe in on full lift. So through that range, your toe in is only changing. It's going positive, which is good for stability, but it's less than a degree. I mean, it's basically 0.6, 0.7 of a degree.
Yeah.
So where before it was going out 7 degrees, so when you would let off, it would want to go wherever it wanted to go because it didn't know what direction to head. So that alone is a huge difference, and that's what I spend most of the time on, is getting all that dialed in and working correctly.
Okay.
And then once I figured out the rack was off-centered, I squared up the rod ends, and then I just reclocked the steering wheel at the rack. Basically drop the rack down, reclock it until I was happy with it, and then I dialed in my final toe after getting all that together. I did add some caster to this side. I went a little more negative on camber on this side. These things sweep way negative camber, and then they're actually positive camber when you're at running height, where that's at. And it doesn't matter. Even though the Fox bodies are the same way, I set them up. I just wanted them to be even, and they just go where they want to go, and then they go back to where they want to go. And camber doesn't make a big difference on these, but I'd like them to be equal.
Okay.
A lot of what I'm doing is just making everything equal and parallel, and making all the geometry work together.
Cool.
How long have you been building this?
It's been 4 years.
4 years. Now, you don't want to buy tires right off the bat, because then you're just going to throw them away at the end of the build. So using ball rollers is the way to do it.
Thought I would run by the heads and pick a set up
Pick some up on your way down. Well, take it home, put some fresh meats on it, and take it out for some practice runs.
Yeah, those quarter-mile burnouts didn't do any good.
4-mile burnouts. That's awesome. Thought you were gonna rip the bumper off.
It's close.
It was more than close on that one. Must be the way the truck's on the ramp.
Might be.
"4 years, you get to finally go have some fun."
Yeah.
Well, that one's done and gone and headed back about a third of the way across the country. So we'll wrap this one up here. I do want to say thank you very much for all of you guys who bring your vehicles to us. The fact that so many people are willing to come from hours or even states away for us to do what we do is beyond flattering. It's impossible to put into words exactly how much it means to us that you would trust us above the hundreds of other shops that you have to pass to get here. It's truly incredible. So thank you guys all so much for trusting us, for believing in us, for bringing your vehicles to us, for watching our videos. Rich is making a bunch of noise because he's still working. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.